WLTX breaking news now.
Thank you so much for joining us here for this breaking news coverage on WLTX Plus. I'm Christy Calcagno. Right now, a news conference from Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott about a shootout that happened on Leesburg Road yesterday. Let's take you to it.
Even in the cemetery. I'm standing up here talking about it again. You see, I shirt on. That shows the difference in the time that I'm standing here talking about the same thing. The incident that occurred yesterday involving our deputies did not start yesterday. It started back on July the 30th. Some of y'all probably broadcast this. It was from the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Department, where they had a murder on July the 30th. They identified the shooter, last name of Fitz, that they were looking for murder. I think the release was on the 5th of this month. They put that out. Today's the 7th. So they put it out on the 5th. A man was murdered in Orangeburg. They identified who it is, and they've got murder warrants on him. Now we go to yesterday. One of our deputies, one of our region deputies, sees a car in the rural part of Lower Richland that's got a suspended tag on it. He's going to stop it, which is what he's supposed to do because it's got a suspended tag. This is his initial stop.
It's going to be Old Eastover Road at Lorenzo Davis Road, South Carolina 28836. Bravo Mike, Echo 836 EME. Gray color, Chevy Burst. Incident aside. Check mark.
Now, some people complain, well, why do you just stop cars for a tag violation or a suspended tag? You're going to find out why we do stuff like that. And then when we get in chases, why does chases? Now, if you notice, this was very rural. They turned off the main road and turned on this very secondary road. We're very fortunate that what occurred later did not happen here, which is where I think they started. This is the suspect vehicle that we were chasing. It wrecked on Leesburg Road. 4 subjects jumped out of that vehicle and ran across Leesburg Road onto Fort Jackson property. Our deputies responded. We set up a perimeter as best as we could. Our K-9s and other officers started searching. This initially started a little bit after 1 o'clock. There's your timeline right there. Deputies searched, they searched, they searched. They kept looking, and around 4 o'clock, 3 of our deputies in the heavily wooded area saw an individual pop his head up and then pop back down. The 3 deputies identified themselves as Sheriff's Department, and the subject jumped back up and at that point started shooting at our deputies. We found at least 10 shell casings from the weapon that he fired at our deputies. Our deputies fired back. Eventually the shooting stopped. They were able to go to where the subject was at and identified the person that we had shot. We had 3 other subjects that were loose. There was 4 that jumped out the car. This was one. Here they are in a gunfight with this one. They still have to be on the lookout for the other 3. So you see the timeline. We secure that scene. We call in our critical incident team, which investigates officer-involved shootings. The person we shot was pronounced dead at the scene. He had a gun. He had a pistol on him. We identified that pistol and took pictures of it. When we searched the car that the 4 of them had jumped from, this is 2 weapons that we found. That pistol that you see has a switch on it that makes it fully automatic. The other one you see is an assault rifle. We secured that scene, but we still had to find the other 3. So for the next couple hours, our teams continued to search. Eventually, they were able to locate the other 3 subjects, and we apprehended them. This is the individual that Orangeburg County put out as wanted for murder. So you ask, why would someone go to such extremes to escape and get away and then try to kill 3 deputies? It was because he was wanted for murder. This was the individual that shot at our deputies. This is the individual that we shot back at, and he was killed. He was trying to get away because he committed a murder. He didn't know if we were looking for him for the murder, but he knew if he got caught, then he was going to be charged with murder. These are the 3 deputies that were involved in the officer-involved shooting. A lieutenant in that region, Blanding, K-9 officer in his K-9 Nevada, and then one of our SRT people, which is what we call our SWAT, our Special Response Team. This is his gun. This is the gun that he used to shoot at us. 10 shell casings were found. Now, having our own ballistics lab, which is what we have, we were able to take that gun and match up to the murder in Orangeburg. That gun was used to kill the individual in Orangeburg. He still had the murder weapon on him when he tried to kill our 3 deputies. So we've matched that up. These are the 3 others that we arrested later that were in the woods. They're all charged with various possession of guns. They've had a bond hearing. They've got various bonds on them. Go back to the man that we killed. A very lengthy record, including violent crime and weapons. You know, it's sad when anybody loses a life, but you know, I'm very thankful I'm standing here not talking about one of our deputies or 3 of our deputies being killed. You know, this is not something that we like to do, but this is something that we're forced to do. When somebody shoots at us, we're going to shoot back, and that's what we saw yesterday. But it goes back to what we first started with when I first, kids with guns. There's 3 19-year-olds, a 20-year-old. You have 1 that's dead. You got 3 now that are facing some very serious charges who are going to end up in jail and a prison sentence. The gun's not going to get you anywhere except for one of those 2 places, and we have to do something as a community to stop this. Our critical incident team, which works our officer-involved shootings, will get all the evidence, get all the facts that'll be presented to the solicitor's office. They will make a determination if the shooting was justified or not. I am not showing body cams today. I don't think it's appropriate to show, at this point, a young man being killed. But in that body cam, you see us identify who we are, and you see him firing the first shots. A lot of shots at us, and then we shot back. Our Citizens Advisory Council will look at it. We'll meet with them and show them what they got. The coroner, the solicitors, everybody will see it. But it's the same old sad story that I have to get up here and talk about. Kids with guns who end up in jail or end up in the cemetery. It's just too much. Questions?
Sheriff, yesterday, were you aware that the victim in this situation was the same person as for being wanted for murder in Orange County?
Yeah, he ain't a victim. He's a bad guy. He shot at us. He tried to kill us. So I don't consider him a victim. No, we did not know that. We did not know that till later last night when we were able to identify him with a fingerprint reader, and that matched him up to who he truly is, and then he was wanted. We saw that. So we notified the Orangeburg Sheriff's Department at that point and been exchanging information and ballistics with them. So, no, the question last night was, why would you try to kill 3 cops? Why were you doing this extreme? Now we know why he was doing this extreme. He was wanted for murder. He'd already killed before. And here he was. He'd do anything to escape.
Did any of the other 3 involved have past criminal records?
The 3 19-year-olds, I think they all had criminal records. Yeah, they did. It's just, They were involved with him. They were helping him conceal his identity, cutting his hair, changing his appearance. He was not the driver. One of them were the driver. They had the guns. They ran, they hid, they tried to get away, and they were not successful with that last night. We're going to find them.
And did those other three have weapons on them at the time as well?
No, they had left them in the car. Well, they did not have weapons on them when we found them in the woods. But again, that was from 1 o'clock until 6:30ish. So they may have had guns and got rid of them. We don't know exactly where they were when we were being shot at. So we don't know how close or how far they were. These two guns that I showed you were found in the car.
Did any of the three, were they involved in the Orangeburg?
That's what we're working on with Orangeburg. The Orangeburg sheriff said that there were some people with this guy when he committed the murder, so we're working with them to see if it was any of these three.
Sheriff, can you confirm, I just want to make sure, I'm sorry if I missed it. So in total, 3 firearms recovered from the scene?
That's correct. 1 that was used to shoot at us and 2 that was recovered from the vehicle. And again, I'm going to go back to the one that was recovered in the vehicle. It had the switch put on it that made it fully automatic. No, 3 guns.
I understand too that you won't be showing the body cam footage, but are you at least able to show the first part that shows him taking that first shot at Deputies?
I'm not going to show that today. I'm not going to show it today. Today is just letting the community know what happened and letting its investigation and gathering the evidence run its course. But, you know, one thing that we've always done here is that we're very public on what happens. This shooting happened and investigation almost all night long. So that's why I'm standing here now giving you what I can. What I can tell you is that he shot at us first. After we identified ourselves as with the sheriff's department, we shot back.
As you've gone through and watched the body cam and the dash cams, are you pleased with the way that the deputies responded and the actions that they took?
Yeah, they were very professional in what they did. They protected themselves, not even knowing that this guy was wanted for murder. Again, you go back to what was the initial stop for? A suspended tag, and then a chase, and then people running. You know, I doubt very seriously when they first saw him pop his head up that they would, in their mind, would have any idea that he'd start shooting at them, and bullets would be whizzing by their head. And they reacted appropriately to protect themselves.
Where was the initial traffic stop, and how long did it run for until it stopped on Eastover?
I don't have the time. It started toward the Eastover area and then ended up way down Leesburg Road, which is a long ways. So, again, you saw part of it. You saw the initial stop. You see where it initially pulled over, went down that secluded road, pulled over and stopped like they were going to stop, and then all of a sudden took off. What they were discussing in that car, what their plan was, we don't know. But we do know that this guy shot at us at least 10 times.
What is your reaction to crime like this spreading between county lines, and how are you working with neighboring sheriffs to stop this and keep the community safe?
Well, that's what we all got to do. I mean, here we got 3 individuals from Columbia, 1 from Orangeburg. Murders committed in Orangeburg. They're here in Columbia. They don't know jurisdictional lines. So we work very closely together. That's why we exchange information. Orangeburg Sheriff and myself talked numerous times last night, numerous times today. Our people work very closely, but we do that with all our agencies. We had lots of agencies that responded last night to help us in this search. This was a massive search doing a torrential downpour in the woods, in deep woods, and the roads were awful. We had lots of vehicles that got stuck just trying to get back there to where they were at. So you had a large wooded area that you're searching. You're getting shot at. You got 3 other people running around. You don't know what they got. It was a very intense manhunt there for a while.
Did these folks have interests in the Leesburg Road area, or did they just happen to end up there?
I just think they ended up there. We haven't got any connection with that. They ended up there. When you're on the run, you're gonna try to escape and get away, and that's what we saw yesterday.
Do you know what the mile radius might have been when they were in that woods? How deep did they go into them?
No, I don't have that. It was big, very wooded, deep woods. All right, thank y'all.
And you just heard there from Sheriff Leon Lott regarding that shootout that happened over on Leesburg Road yesterday. Just going to break down what we heard from the sheriff and also the ties over into Orangeburg County. Now, Sheriff Leon Lott started this press conference saying that this all started back on July 30th when the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office identified a murder suspect as Jason Fritz, and that's who they were searching for a murder suspect over in Orangeburg County. Then just yesterday, Richland deputies see a vehicle over in Lower Richland with a suspended tag. The car, as we saw with that patrol camera, turning on into a rural part of Leesburg Road, where a chase then ensued. Again, we were able to see it with that patrol car video. That's when the suspect's vehicle then wrecked onto Leesburg Road, and then that's when 3 people ran into a very wooded part of Leesburg Road, and then according to Sheriff Lott, went into Fort Jackson property. Now, they are saying that the search started at around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, went on till 4 o'clock. Again, deputies were in and around that wooded area. There was also a K-9 unit there. They did say that he is not going to show the body camera video at this time, but according to Sheriff Lott, it said that it showed his deputies identifying themselves, and then that is when Fritz, the suspect, started shooting at the deputies. Sheriff Lott saying that they found 10 shell casings, and deputies then fired back, and the suspect was dead. Again, we have now learned that there were 4 people inside the vehicle during the initial traffic stop. All 4 of them jumped out. 1 was in the gunfire with the deputies. The 3 then were found later. Now, they did say that Fritz was found with a pistol. He was identified who was the one that was killed, while 2 other weapons were found inside the vehicle. One of them that Sheriff Lott said was a fully automatic one that was modified with a switcher, while the other one was an assault rifle. That's when the team started searching for the other 3 suspects. All 3 of them were arrested. Fritz, again, as we were able to confirm, according to Sheriff Leon Lott, was the same man who was wanted for murder over in Orangeburg County. According to Sheriff Lott, he's saying he shot at deputies, deputies shot back, and he was killed, and saying that he wasn't sure that if Fritz knew why he was being turned over, but again, committing a murder over in Orangeburg. Lott then showing the weapon that Fritz used, saying that that gun was the same gun that matched the murder over in Orangeburg. Also confirming to us tonight that Fritz does have a lengthy record of violent crime and weapons charges. He says that it's sad when anyone loses a life, quote, but he's glad that he's not talking about any of his deputies today. Also going on to say, quote, we don't like to do this, but sometimes we are forced to do this. Also going on to say, if you do shoot at us, we will shoot back. In total, besides Fritz, there were 3 other suspects who have been arrested. All 3 of them are 19 years old and from Columbia. Sheriff Lott also saying that Fritz is not a victim. He does not consider him a victim. He was identified later that night in the same as in Orangeburg. He also said, why would you try and kill 3 cops? That's why. He was wanted for murder, and he already killed before. That was according to Sheriff Leon Lott. According to the 3 other suspects that we have just learned, again, all 19 years old. According to Sheriff Leon Lott, the 3 of them were helping Fritz hide by even cutting his hair, changing his appearance. They ran and hid, tried to get away, but were not successful. All 3 of them are from the Columbia area, while Fritz was from St. Matthews, saying that they left their weapons in the car. They weren't sure at this time if they had guns when they were out in the woods, but when they were arrested, they did not have any weapons. Right now, at this point, according to Sheriff Leon Lott, deputies, he's saying that all of them were very professional. They protected themselves, and right now they are working to see if they were involved in the other 3 suspects, working to see if they were involved in the murder case as well over in Orangeburg. That is the most that we have right now, what we got from that press conference with Sheriff Leon Lott. Of course, this is a developing story. Our team is going to be working on this case. We're also going to be getting more details from that press conference. You even heard it from our team there in Richland County. We're going to have much more coming up later on Friends at 5. But again, we thank you all so much for joining us here for this breaking news coverage. And don't forget, you can always join us both on air and online at WLTX.com.